weeks, we need to respond to each night wake at the moment with a feed, and it's certainly still very reasonable to be feeding your baby quite a few times at night time at this age. It's important though to make sure that she doesn't have her day and nights mixed up and around the wrong way. Certainly some babies do love sleeping during the day and then are wide awake at night. I had one myself who, my first, would just sleep all day beautifully through the day, and then she was just wide awake at night time at 3 o'clock in the morning most times for a good few hours, just because she actually needed to be awake in her 24-hour period. The other things that we should look at are to make sure that she's swaddled at night time. She may need a little bit of white noise to help her sleep at night time better, and increasing her daytime awake time ever so slightly by a few minutes every day to help her sleep better at night rather than sleeping all her sleep during the day.
With newborn babies, it can be really difficult to feel like you're sort of progressing into having a bit more structure to your day, and that's because it's quite normal for newborn babies to want to feed and sleep and feed and sleep. And what can happen though is, as they get a bit older and as the weeks go by, we kind of get stuck in this pattern of sort of not realizing that their needs have developed and matured bit by bit. And you might, and I certainly with my eldest, you sort of find yourself like stuck on the couch all day feeding your baby, and then they fall asleep on you, and then you sort of either just hold them, or if you put them down they wake up, and then you kind of start the process all over again. And I mean, I'm not saying don't feed and cuddle your baby all day long, of course do that, but if you are at the point where you just need to get a little bit of breathing space, and if you just need to have a bit more predictability so you can go have a shower or make a sandwich or spend some time with your older child, if you've got a toddler or an older child as well, then there are some really easy things that you can do to give a bit more structure to your day, even though you do have a newborn baby. So I would be looking at, yes, definitely feeding your baby when they wake from a nap, and letting them have a bit of a wake time, like, let them sort of kick their legs around for a while, give them some nappy off time, let them lie under a sort of a play gym and give them something interesting to look at. They need a bit of stimulation and increasing stimulation as they get older, so that they are then tired enough to have a nice decent nap, and they're not relying on you feeding to keep them asleep or rocking to keep them asleep. And then I would tightly swaddle my baby. I would take her to a nice dark calming room, put on some white noise, pop her in her bed, and I would be settling her completely to sleep. And at a newborn age, that's absolutely fine. I would be, maybe side settling her, or even rocking her, putting her down when she's already asleep, silently creeping out of the room. And that gives you, a little bit of a break as well. I'm not saying you have to do this for every single sleep that your baby has, but for 1 or 2 sleeps a day, if you aim for your baby to have a sleep in their own sleeping space, at least it gives you a chance to have a shower, grab something to eat, spend some time with your older child, and then slowly you'll be able to move that into a bit more of a structured pattern to your day with sort of more regular awake and nap times. And your baby's probably going to be more settled as well and love knowing what's happening next in their day. So our newborn program has all of that information in it, and it gives you the ideal awake times so that you know when exactly your baby needs to go to sleep at each age, and that's pretty much a week by week scale under 3 months.
So catnapping in an 8-week-old is probably due to either overtired, undertired, or baby not being awake for long enough between naps, or being awake for too long between naps, or otherwise it could be that your baby is being slept in a bright environment. And after 8 weeks old, it's very important that, especially during the day, that their room is dark. the reason that after 8 weeks old it becomes an issue is because if their room isn't dark, then what happens is there's no release of melatonin. Up until 8 weeks they have the maternal melatonin that they've got from their mother, and after 8 weeks the maternal melatonin has completely worn off. So they need to start creating their own melatonin, and the only way to do that is to be in the dark. Melatonin is only produced in the dark, and if you're sleeping your baby in the bright light, what happens is they don't get enough melatonin to then push them into that next sleep cycle. So they'll catnap and they'll do short 35 to 45 minute sleep cycles, and then they don't have that melatonin, so when they rouse and they become into their lighter part of the sleep, after they've been in their deep sleep, they're in a bright room, their brain's starting to switch on. As soon as they sort of open their eyes, they're getting stimulated, and then of course they wake up completely, and that is causing them to then not move into that next sleep cycle and catnap. So that's probably the main reason why an 8-week-old would start catnapping. There are a few other reasons. Maybe they have trapped wind, maybe they are genuinely hungry, or they've fed too far away from their nap to then have a decent nap and they're waking and they're hungry, or they have something else going on that might be starting to be uncovered. For my own child, it was around that time where we started figuring out that she had severe silent reflux. But of course with our sleep programs we can start easily ruling out that they aren't over or undertired, changing their room environment, making sure that they are in the dark, and that they have swaddles and that they have a little bit of white noise to help them move into that sleep cycle is easy little things that you can do to tweak and help rule out that they aren't the reasons why your baby's catnapping. And also it can help uncover if there are anything else going on that would be able to sort of highlight, I suppose, by ruling out everything else first.
Yep, undertired. So you might not have heard of this word, or if you have, you're maybe a bit confused as to why we're saying undertired and not overtired. It's the same principle, it's just the other way round. So undertired means your baby or toddler is not ready for sleep. Quite simply, they are undertired. So we would talk about undertiredness in the context of particularly younger babies. If they haven't been awake long enough between naps and you're trying to put them down for a nap and they're resisting you, or they're crying, or they're just not going to sleep, in some cases they might well be undertired. So they're just not ready to go to sleep, and they're refusing to go to sleep because of that. So undertiredness means you would look at extending out their awake windows between naps to be more age appropriate. And awake windows are something that are going to be stretching out constantly anyway. So staying on top of that is your best defense against undertiredness.
Your 5-week-old baby should definitely not be actively self-settling. They can certainly be going to sleep by themselves or in their bed when they're ready to sleep. If you are rocking them to sleep or feeding them to sleep, then absolutely do that. There's no harm in treating their sleep as a priority and knowing that they need to go to sleep over their ability to actively sort of self-settle. The self-settling only really becomes an issue over sort of that 3 to 4 month sleep regression, where their brain actively changes and they need to then be able to independently go to sleep if that is causing them to then wake every 2 hours or so over night time. But with your 5-week-old newborn, absolutely. If you need to rock them to sleep every now and again, then that's fine. All we would recommend is making sure that they actually are tired and need to go to sleep in the first place, because newborn babies do change dramatically in those first 3 months. What worked at 2 weeks old might not necessarily be working at 5 weeks old. So our sleep programs will go through the optimal times of having your baby awake during the day so that they'll do their decent chunk of sleep overnight time for you, and they'll also get their increase their calories throughout the day, so hopefully they won't need to feed as often overnight. Some newborns will sleep a lot during the day and then they'll need their calories overnight, so they'll wake every couple of hours to get their calories and have their feeds overnight time. So our programs will make sure that their day and night are sort of around the right way, but we're not recommending that you have your baby self-settling if they are going to sleep when they're ready. That is absolutely perfect. With my own children, I always made sure that they had their good sleep associations all set up when they were a newborn. So if they were going to sleep in their bed, that they had their swaddle to help them sleep for longer periods. I had the baby sleep shush going so that helped them tune out, and that they knew that every time that was played that it was a sleep time, that the room was dark so that it helped build melatonin. That's especially important over 8 weeks old, and that helped them sleep for longer periods during the day. And then once the sleep progression comes at around 4 months old, I would only have to change a few little things, and so that they had all the other associations all built in already.
So between the ages of 0 and 3 months, it takes a while for your baby's circadian rhythm to kick in and to really become established, and this means that they can suffer what is commonly called day-night confusion. And what this looks like is your newborn baby napping really well during the day, so napping for maybe 3 or 4 hours even in a go, and then waking up, having a feed, staying awake for quite a short time, and then going back to sleep for another long stretch. Then they might be really, really wakeful overnight, sleeping in 1 to 2 hour chunks and feeding a lot. Now, arguably, if your baby is capable of 3 and 4 hour stretches in the day, then there's no reason why they can't do those stretches at night. So what we want to do is reverse the pattern and have more feeds and shorter sleeps happening during the day, and save those nice long stretches of sleep for overnight, when sleep is going to be more restorative for your baby and also obviously for you. So babies do need a hand getting their circadian rhythm, kick-starting their circadian rhythm and getting their body clock sort of functioning properly. And the best way to do this is to help them regulate their daytime sleep hours. And we would recommend doing that by waking your baby from their naps if they are at risk of napping for too long in one go. And not only does this mean that they're also going to then potentially stay awake more overnight, but it means that they've also probably missed a feed opportunity during the day. And then of course they're going to need to make up for those feeds overnight. And again, we want to reverse that, so they're feeding lots during the day and not quite so much overnight. So in our newborn sleep program, which is all about setting up really good, sustainable, healthy sleep habits for your newborn baby, we recommend nap lengths that are going to give your baby good, restful sleep during the day, but not so much sleep during the day that it's going to interfere with the consolidation of their nighttime sleep. Because we definitely don't want it that your baby is napping all day long and awake all night. So our sleep program can definitely help you to reverse that pattern. Another thing that can really help your baby understand the difference between day and night is when they are awake and in their awake windows in the day, making sure they're in a lot of sunlight or natural light, making their awake times bright and interactive so that they really understand that this is daytime, it's for being awake, for interacting. And then when you're tending to them in the night between their sleep stints, keep the room very dark, keep the white noise going, keep stimulation to a minimum, so they really start to understand that the night is for sleep and staying calm and settled, and the daytime is for shorter stints of sleep or your daytime naps, and for a lot more awake alert time. If you need some more help getting naps happening or even getting the awake times right for your baby at this age, please take a look at our website. We've got lots of sleep information on there, and of course our newborn sleep program, which has all of the information that you need. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for lots more baby sleep videos.